So I want to talk about a specific kind of self-sabotage. And I know, people don't burn bridges on purpose. Nobody's out here doing that, but it's a lot quieter than that. It's an invite that you leave on read for more than 2 days until responding actually feels really weird. Because it's like on one hand, obviously you want to have social interaction, but on the other hand, texting them back feels just super strenuous for no reason. I'm talking this situation where you say, yeah, bro, for sure, we should totally hang out. That both people on both ends of the transaction, you both know that is not a real plan. It's someone genuinely reaching out to you, and then you just don't really follow up. You just kind of let it fall flat on the floor. And you're not alone. I'm the same way. It's not because you don't want to, per se. You just don't. And then enough time passes that it would be strange to bring it back up, so you don't do that either, and then you end up feeling pretty lonely. And I ain't just talking about you. I'm talking about me too, and probably a lot of people watching this video. And before I get into any of this, because this is kind of a deep topic with a lot of different layers, I just want to say something directly. I get why these are hard things to do. I'm not coming at this from some place where I've been, I've always been super confident. I've always been fine walking into a room alone, because that's not true. It's something I struggle with to this day. It's a demon I'm slaying every day. And for a long time, I was not good for that. Eating out by myself, going to a concert, or even just going on a walk with nowhere to really be by myself. All of it used to make me super, super uncomfortable. So I get it. I commonly find reasons to avoid it entirely. I'd rather stay home than sit at a restaurant by myself for 20 minutes to an hour. And that probably sounds small when I say it out loud, but it didn't feel small at the time. And it feels like a real problem, and it's really hard to explain to people, so I totally get it. One of you guys actually reached out to me recently and said, hey, Cozy, how can we do things to push us out of our comfort zone, like going to public events by yourself, such as movies or concerts or etc. So I want to broach this topic from an interesting perspective. I'm going to bring in two different schools of thought and then hope that, if we connect some dots on one side, then we can connect dots on the other. So bear with me. And when I first read this message, I honestly went at it from one perspective where I'm like, oh yeah, this is purely about doing stuff solo, movies or concerts or whatever it might be. The more I sat with it, the more I think it's actually about something a little bit deeper, a little bit bigger. It's about whether you let yourself show up for something, or if you just kind of let the overthinking quietly kill it in the corner before it even starts, before it even festers, before it even gives you the motivation to go and do it. So I want to actually break this down properly instead of just telling you to, oh yeah, push through it, bro. Be a man, bro. Because that advice never did anything for me. Whenever I heard it, it just kind of annoyed me. And this is kind of the main part that I think really gets overlooked. I feel like people skip over it in the thought process. This isn't a matter of a personality flaw. I know, society will tell you that. Social media will tell you that. I disagree. Your brain is doing exactly what it's built to do here. It's so weird to look at it this way, but just bear with me. It's just applying an old setting to a situation that doesn't really need it anymore. For most of human history, being noticed by a group or being judged unfavorably by it, it wasn't a small social discomfort where you feel weird, feel anxious. No, it was dangerous. Getting excluded could mean losing access to food, protection, survival, yada, yada, yada. So it's a survival instinct. Your brain developed a very sensitive alarm system around one specific question. Is the group judging me right now? And is that judgment going to cost me something? It's about cost. And it's crazy because that alarm system does not know the difference between, oh yeah, the tribe is going to exile me and some stranger might notice that I'm eating a sandwich alone. Boo-hoo. It just fires the exact same way. It's like if you went to a movie theater and a fire alarm went off because somebody in the bathroom hit their vape. It just does not apply. And man, I am just never going to get better at these analogies, aren't I? Whatever. Moving on. That's why the fear doesn't feel like an overreaction. That's why it feels super rational. It feels like real danger because your body is generating the signal, that the same chemical that says, oh my God, I'm in danger. And I know that feeling. Knowing that doesn't make the feeling disappear, but maybe it might just deep down change what you actually do with that feeling. It might change the way that you approach it. It might change the way that you gain some bravery because you're not broken for feeling this. You're running very old software. in a situation it was never built for. And my fear here is that people hear, doing things alone and assume that this can only apply to one type of person: introverts. Society will tell you that, some people are just wired for solitude and some people aren't. And I don't think that's fully true here. Introverts still want connection, obviously. They just recharge differently. This isn't about your social battery. It's about whether fear gets to make the decision before you've actually had the chance to. I've met a ton of actually naturally quiet people who still show up for things constantly over and over and over again, and plenty of naturally outgoing people who let invites die, like right there in their inbox for the exact same reason. This is not a personality category. It is a habit. And habits, unlike the actual way that you're wired, they're actually things you can change in real time, regardless of which personality type you have. So maybe you could take a little solace in here and be like, listen, even if I'm wired for introversion, even if I'm wired to be very social, I still have control no matter what. And having control over a situation and changing your internal locus instead of it being external, that's a good place to be. And I mean, listen, be my guest. Here's a way to check if people actually care, if that fear actually matches your reality. And it's the same one that I eventually actually ended up stumbling into. Think about the last time that you saw a stranger doing something alone, like something in public. Maybe they're eating lunch, or they're sitting alone at a bar, or they're walking through the mall with nobody next to them. What did you think about them? You probably couldn't even come up with a memory, but even if you did, if you're being honest with yourself, you probably thought nothing. You probably thought nothing of them. You probably didn't notice them. There's dozens, if not thousands of them, and maybe a half-second glance, then you went right back to whatever you were doing, walking into a store, going on your phone, whatever it is, you got your own life happening, and their lunch was not relevant to it. You probably didn't even realize they were eating food. It's because you're not plugged into their situation. You're not them. You're not relevant to them. And if you were in their shoes, they wouldn't be relevant to you. And that's the thing. That's the default setting everybody's on. Everybody extends that same 5-second forgetfulness to you automatically without ever deciding to. So nobody would even care that you're at Panera Bread all by yourself. And I didn't believe this until I actually did it myself too. I've gone on walks all by myself to go to the gym, and it's turned out to be some of my favorite time of the day. And the few times that I've sat down and eaten somewhere by myself, it's the same thing. I remember bracing for it and being scared for it, expecting to feel like something was actually going to happen. But no, I just sat there, ate my food, went on my phone. A few people walked past me. Nobody cared. Literally nobody cared. It was some of the most anticlimactic shit ever. Like the entire thing I had built up in my head for years, it was worth nothing. Turned out to be almost nothing. Tested directly right there in reality. Nothing. And here's exactly where it gets a lot harder to shake this thing off. If you avoid this stuff long enough, it stops being a habit. It starts becoming a storyline. It starts becoming the same thing, the same story you keep telling about yourself. You start saying things like, oh, I'm just not really a go out alone kind of guy. And, it's a fixed trait of mine. Instead of a pattern that you built one avoided invite at a time. One concert that came up on your TikTok feed that you didn't buy a ticket for, even though you would have been psyched because, oh, my friends don't listen to the same music as me. And once it becomes the identity level instead of habit, it gets a lot more protected. It actually gets some validity. It actually gets some actual establishment in your mind. And habits, you can just decide to do differently tomorrow. But if you have your identity changing, there's defense there. There's some shields up. So if somebody suggests a concert alone and you've spent years calling yourself not that guy, your brain isn't just weighing the concert, it's weighing whether you're about to become somebody different than who you've told and showed everybody who you are, including yourself. So you have the ability to change the story, but in order to change the story, you have to actually change. I know it's hard, but what's the worst thing that could happen? You want to see a concert, go to the concert. If it really is weird and embarrassing, you could just play it off. And the fact that you reached out to me and the fact that you put it out there, I could tell this is what you actually want for yourself. So I challenge you and anybody like you right now in the comment section, guys. I'm going to have a pinned comment. Let me know, what is something that's holding you back? What are you holding yourself back from doing? What are the walls that you put up for yourself socially? For me, I just feel like I overthink plans so much with people. So I'm going to put in some effort. I'm going to try to just kind of go with the flow a little bit more. and see where it goes. Now, if you guys need any advice, just like the viewer who sent this in today, let me know in the comment section, or you could even join my Discord. It's a community server. A lot of people join in there. We talk about self-improvement. We talk about life. It's good times. It's fun. It's definitely good vibes. And also, it's a place that you could reach out to me for advice. I'd love to cover what you guys are going through in a video. Even if you think like, oh, my problem's not a big deal. It really, it's not going to move the needle. You got to believe it that there's other people out there just like you. So even if you don't feel like, you know what, I don't know if Cozy could help me, there's other people out there struggling with the same stuff, and maybe we could help them too. But that's my time, guys. Hope you guys have a great day. And yeah, go do something fun.